of the Dorton and Duckett Debate podcast. I am Lucas Dorton. I am joined once again by Nick Duckett. Nick, how we doing today? 60-some degrees, mid-November. You can't complain about that outside.
It's a nice day out there. I was pleasantly surprised when I got out, when I was walking out to my car after work. I'm like, oh, dang, it's warm out here. Nice. Better than the snowstorm that we had 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of an every other week occurrence. We'll get a snowstorm for 4 days, and it'll be like 60 for 3 days. So
Right? Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, I guess I can't complain too much. I'll take a few 60 days in a row for some snow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Cool. Well, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be going through some MLB award discussion, talking about that, and then a few notes, and also on MLB as far as some storylines that have gone on, some trades that have gone on in the NBA, and the NBA draft. We'll also be talking about that too, and talk a little Masters as well. So, without further ado, we'll just get right into it here. Talking about the MLB awards, we're going to start off with the Rookie of the Year award. It was obviously American League, National League. Mariners center fielder Kyle Lewis won it for the AL. Devin Williams for Milwaukee in the NL. I didn't realize when I saw that Williams was up for Rookie of the Year that he had allowed one run the entire season. Now, yes, it's a 60-game season, but regardless, if you're allowing one run in that time frame, that's pretty dang deserving.
He was unbelievable.
And from what I've heard as far as Kyle Lewis too, is that he was kind of the unanimous. I mean, not unanimous, but I didn't think there was really a whole lot of competition as far as his went. So both of these guys, hopefully will be around for a while. So Kyle Lewis, interesting stat, became the second rookie since 1969, joining Mark McGwire in '87 to lead his team in batting average, home runs, and walks. Now, obviously, he had 267, 11 home runs, 37 runs, and 34 walks. So, shortened season, but you got to give the award to someone, and he was definitely deserving. I mean, if you lead your team in the major statistical categories, you're definitely deserving of the award too.
I mean, granted, his team is the Mariners, and they're not very good. 267 is nothing special, but he did have a good year. He's a very well-rounded player. He can kind of do everything, and he died off a little bit at the end, but towards the beginning of the year, I mean, he was having a remarkable year, and overall, he ended up with a very good year. And Robert had a good, solid year.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I think Lewis was the right choice.
Not to mention too, to get lost in all this, his defensive play too. As far as defensive outfielders go, he was extremely solid in what he did out there too, having home run robberies and just kind of that spark that they needed. So he is the first. The last time a Mariners player won Rookie of the Year was Ichiro in 2001. So it
also won MVP that year.
Also won MVP. Kyle Lewis wasn't quite that good to win MVP, but Rookie of the Year, I'm sure he'll take that too. But nonetheless, it's always interesting to see for these guys that win Rookie of the Year. You look down 4 or 5 years down the road, how are they still doing? So I have no doubt that both of these guys will probably be centerpieces around their team for a while, but we'll have to see what happens there. Moving on to Manager of the Year, Don Mattingly from the Miami Marlins and Kevin Cash of the Tampa Bay Rays, the Florida winners here. Winning both the Manager of the Year awards. Cash got 22 of the 30 place votes. Mattingly got 20 of the 30 first place votes. So pretty interesting. I think Kevin Cash was pretty much locked in. I don't think that one was too surprising for the most part. And not to say that Mattingly wasn't either. I just don't think his was as much of a for sure as Cash's was. But both of these guys 100% deserving of the award though.
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of funny that the AL Manager of the Year is the manager that everyone said blew the World Series, which,
yeah,
I mean, I said it too. But that being said, he deserved it. He made what I think both of us would say and most would say was a very, very bad decision in the World Series. But overall, he's a very good coach or manager. I mean, the whole the whole bullpen start games. I mean, we might not even see that if it weren't for Kevin Cash. And now everybody's doing it because it's smart and it works. And the Rays had the second best record in baseball, the best in the American League. They had a really solid team, and it's not like they have, all stars at every position either. Cash was a very good manager; he deserved it. And then on the other side, Mattingly. I mean, the Marlins have been a dumpster fire for the last how many years? Nobody expected anything of them, and they made the playoffs. And it wasn't even because of like a last push. I mean, they were in playoff contention or in a spot pretty much the entire season.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is interesting to see, both of these guys, two fairly similar teams as far as like how they're constructed. They don't really have, like a star. Obviously, like the Blake Snell, extremely solid player for Tampa. Tyler Glasnow, pretty solid as well too. But for the most part, both of these guys, they don't have stars on their team. So it is always cool to see that breakdown for them. Jace Tingler finishing in second, David Ross in third, and then in the AL, Rick Renteria second, and Charlie Montoyo from the Toronto Blue Jays finishing third.
The guy who gets second in AL Manager of the Year gets fired.
Yep, yeah, that's that is pretty interesting how that works out, but it is pretty cool to see. Cy Young Award now. Pretty solid. Ohio did a pretty good job as far as pitchers go this year. Shane Bieber winning it in the American League. Trevor Bauer in the National League. I don't think really there was too much of a surprise as far as Bieber goes. He got all 30 first-place votes. Mm-hmm. So he's the first unanimous player to win it since Kershaw did in 2014. And Bauer got 27 of the 30 first-place votes, beating out Yu Darvish and Jacob deGrom. You got to feel great for both of these guys. Number one, with Shane Bieber, with how hard he's worked to get to where he is now, he was a walk-on at college and, kind of had to get his way through the systems. Cleveland does a phenomenal job in their, developing department. And now he's winning the Cy Young as one of the best pitchers in baseball. Trevor Bauer kind of been hopping around from team to team, can't really find his fit as far as, them just letting Trevor Bauer be Trevor Bauer. And he's went to Cincinnati, maybe a future free agent this offseason. We'll have to see what happens. But an absolutely amazing year for him as well, too. So both of these guys, pretty good feel-good stories. And, you love to see it for both of them for sure.
Yeah, I think Bieber was pretty obvious. I mean, the dude balled out all year, and there wasn't really any, other really good choice there. I'm glad Maeda was up for it. He deserved to be up for it. He had a good year. But, I mean, yeah, Bieber far and away was the best pitcher in the American League this year. And then NL's was close. I mean, all three of them, there was a legitimate argument to be made for all three of them, especially deGrom and Bauer, I think. I would have loved to see deGrom win his third in a row. But Bauer probably was the most deserving, so it's good he won. And, like you mentioned, Ohio did pretty good, but Cleveland had Bauer just 2 years ago.
Yep.
If they still had him, and, I mean, they've had Clevenger and Kluber, who's won 2 Cy Youngs. It's unbelievable the pitchers they've got rid of the last 3 years, and they're still one of the best rotations in the league.
Yeah, I think as far as developing pitchers go, Cleveland and Tampa have got to be 1-2. Now, what order you want to put them can be left up for debate. They both do a phenomenal job at developing pitchers, as we've seen. Dodgers, I'd also throw the Dodgers up there too. They do a pretty solid job as far as that goes. Bieber and Bauer, it just marks the second time that Cy Young winners have come from the same state, joining California in 1974. When Catfish Hunter from the A's and Dodgers, Mike Marshall, did that. I guess I'm just looking through this article here. They have quite a decent amount of connections. They both come from the University of California system. Bieber went to UC Santa Barbara, Bauer went to UCLA, and they obviously were Cleveland teammates as well too. So it is a phenomenal award for both of them. Both of them are 100% deserving. I think the interesting now, we'll have to see where does Trevor Bauer go, and that'll be a discussion when we do our MLB off-season predictions as far as that goes. But always interesting to see as far as that goes. MVP now, kind of the big award that everyone seems to always hype up. Jose Abreu from the Chicago White Sox and Freddie Freeman from the Atlanta Braves winning both of these. Abreu, who obviously also got another Silver Slugger, led the AL in hits, RBIs, and slugging and played in all 60 games. Freeman led the majors in runs scored and doubles and set career highs in batting average, on-base percentage, and slugging percentage. Really interesting to see this. Abreu beating out Jose Ramirez and DJ LeMahieu to get the award. And then Mookie Betts and Manny Machado getting second and third in the NL. I think the NL for me, I'm pretty okay with that. You know, I'm okay with Freddie Freeman getting that award, and not that I'm saying I'm not for Jose Abreu in the American League. I don't know if I would have picked him. I probably would have gone DJ LeMahieu. Now, you know, maybe call it a biased pick, played for my Rockies, but LeMahieu did ball this season. But nonetheless, I mean, Abreu is 100% deserving of the award for sure.
I mean, LeMahieu led the league in batting, led the whole majors in batting average, had quite a bit of home runs. He's a very solid defender. There's definitely a case to be made for him. I mean, he was probably the most deserving.
Yeah.
Jose Abreu at one point I'd say was, but towards when it all came down to it and the season concluded, I'd say LeMahieu probably had the better year.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't expect him to win. LeMahieu never gets the love, and it's not that Abreu wasn't deserving. I mean, he definitely was, and there's definitely a case for him there. He gets 100 RBIs in like a 162 game season, like every year. So the dude is, I mean, yeah, RBIs are somewhat random and somewhat based on your team, but he gets it every year, and the White Sox aren't even good every year. So this dude knows how to drive in runs. Like, he's a clutch hitter. He gets hits when you need him, and he had a lot of home runs this year. And he's a decent defender in his own right, so he was deserving. It was nice to see him get it. And then National League, I didn't even realize Machado. I thought I didn't even really look up at who was like up for it. Also,
Yeah.
like, wait, Machado? Like, I didn't realize Tatis Jr. fell off as much as he did towards the end of the year. Still had a great year, but he only batted like 277. I didn't realize Machado had that good of a year. So I'm like, and like Jose Ramirez was up for it in the AL. I'm like, no, I didn't think he was that good this year. So National League, I was surprised to even see Machado up there. But I mean, Freeman was, I thought, the obvious pick for that one, based on the three. Well, I shouldn't say obvious. Betts had a great year, but Freeman's numbers were very, very good. His batting average is way up there, and honestly, his numbers are always really good. But that guy never gets love, so I love to see the fact he won an MVP.
Freeman's previous best finish in MVP voting was fourth place in 2018. And this is Abreu's fifth time receiving MVP votes and his highest finish since coming in fourth during his rookie year. So certainly a great honor for both of them. So this is the first time. So this is the first time that a MVP came from first base since 2010. Nick, who was that first baseman?
Pujols.
Nope.
What?
2010.
Oh, that would be Joey Votto.
Joey Votto. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Pujols must have been 09.
And only twice before has a first baseman won the award in both leagues in the same season. So I will give you the year.
Oh, yeah.
So 2006. Who got it in 06?
Morneau.
Yep.
And I would assume Pujols. Pujols won 6, 8, 9, I think.
It was not Pujols.
Well, he won 3 in 4 years. Oh, it would have been Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard. And then
I obviously have Pujols' years messed up.
And then the other time, 1994.
94. Oh, boy. Is it too early for McGuire? Probably McGuire.
Not McGuire.
94. Ooh. First base. I'm blanking on
One of the
National League in general.
Yeah, so one of the AL one came from the AL Central.
No. God, I'm just blanking on that one. Jim Thome didn't win MVP, I don't think, with the Indians, did he? I don't know. Who is that?
Frank Thomas and Jeff Bagwell.
The Big Hurt. God dang.
You've been taking these Sporkle quizzes, Nick. I would have thought you would have gotten it by now.
One. I feel like an idiot now. Frank Thomas. I shouldn't have forgot Frank Thomas.
Yep.
So like first baseman used to be down near the premier position, like premier hitting position. You had, Pujols, Teixeira. There was like Ryan Howard. Derek Lee was really good for a while. Ortiz when he had to. Morneau, Helton, Votto, and for a while now, like you mentioned, it hasn't been. So first baseman, Goldschmidt's been pretty good for a while. But first baseman getting the job done again, so it's nice to see.
Nice to see it. Me being a former first baseman, I do like to see the first baseman get the love. So I'm glad that both of those guys did win, though.
Frank Thomas, God, I should have had
Big
that.
Hurt, baby.
I gotta look up the years Pujols made it because he won 3 times in like 4 years. Maybe it was God. Because, Ryan Howard won it in there too, but I got to look up Pujols' years.
Well, that's fine. We'll get into the next topic here is while you're looking that up to confirm your MVP suspicions, 3 and 4 years. But, so we'll get into that here. Tony La Russa, some dirt kind of coming out on him after he had been hired as the new Chicago White Sox manager. Did we get it figured out here?
Well, he won it in 08 and 09 like I thought, but his first one was 05, not 06. He was second in 06. As well as 2002 and 2003 and 2010. Yeah. I think Ryan Howard won in 6 and 7, I think. Jimmy Rollins won one in there too, though, so maybe not.
But anyways, Tony La Russa coming out a couple days before he got the whole DUI situation. Now it looks like prosecutors are moving to drop the DUI charges against Tony La Russa. Now this was an arrest that happened back in February. Really bad situation. Apparently, Tony La Russa, when he had gotten pulled over, said, "Do you see my ring? I'm a Hall of Famer baseball person. I'm legit. I'm a Hall of Famer, brother." That's one of my biggest pet peeves in sports. And thank God, obviously you don't hear probably a lot of it as much as it does happen, but when players, when famous celebrities, athletes pull the "Do you know who I am" card, that always kind of rubs the wrong way with me. Just because, you're just like you and me. You're just more talented at what you do than I would be. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But it is. Tony La Russa, do you think this is going to be kind of a cloud of black ball air around the Chicago White Sox this season? Is that going to be the main storyline, or can the White Sox get away from that?
I think for the people who disagree with the hire and with his age and whatnot, I think they'll probably just try to use it as ammo if things go wrong. But no, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I guess I just got 2 things about it. One, La Russa, it sounded like he was very immature with it. Like you said, the whole doesn't matter who you are. Laws are laws. You're not better or higher up than any of us. But at the same time, it's like, why is this stuff always got to be mentioned as soon as somebody like the whole Antonio Brown threw a bike at a police officer thing just come up? It's like this happened a long time ago, but you're not going to bring it up until he signs with the Buccaneers. You're not going to bring this up about La Russa until he's hired. Like, can't we just leave people's name out of the dirt? And if you're going to put them in the dirt, why wait until they get somewhere? God, it just irritates the crap out of me. It happened a long time ago. Just because he's a manager now, it shouldn't matter. But he was in the wrong, and hopefully he realizes that. But no, I don't think it'll really, really end up mattering in a sense towards his coaching job.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this situation is handled. I don't think they're really going to do anything drastic as far as firing Tony La Russa. I can't imagine they would do that.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, it is interesting to see what will happen here as far as this situation goes. I think the White Sox are probably going to get a lot closer of a look this season than they have in years past, and this is probably a huge reason because of why they probably will.
Yeah.
But if Chicago can win games and Chicago can win games and get back into the playoffs, maybe make a playoff run, then maybe it won't matter. Maybe they won't care as much. So we'll have to see what happens here as far as that goes. But definitely not a great situation. But we'll see what comes of it. Alex Cora back with the Red Sox. I had seen a lot of stuff that when he first got hired that maybe the Red Sox were doing it, get rid of him for the season, and then they'll bring him back again. And that's exactly what they did. And kudos to those people who sought that out because they're 100% right. Cora back with the Boston Red Sox. Were you surprised at all that he did go back to Boston?
Did I think it was going to happen? No. Am I surprised? Not really. And honestly, I'm fine with it. It's nobody really knows if he had anything to do with it in the first place. I mean, and if he did, he did. Whatever. I'm fine with him having a job, and he did a good job. And if they want him back, then they want him back. But the fact that they got rid of him for a year just to bring him back, it clearly means they just did it for the whole publicity standpoint because there was the he couldn't coach and it was the right thing to do to get rid of him, right? But then they just bring him right back, which means clearly they didn't want to fire him. They just did it because they felt they had to. And it's like, have a backbone, for goodness sakes. Fire the guy and be done with it, or don't. If you're going to bring him back right away, don't fire him. Just say, hey, you'll be back next year. This is our interim coach for the year.
Yeah, I do see what you're saying as far as that goes. I think a lot of people are looking at it as far as, well, kind of like what you just said. Well, if you're going to bring him back, then why'd you fire him in the first place? I don't know. Maybe it was to appease the crowd, to make them happy. But I think this would just probably piss them off even more.
That's why they did it, I think. But it's like, if that's the only reason you're doing it, then don't do it at all. That's just not. I lose a lot of respect for when you do that. I mean, I don't really care.
No.
But
no.
It looks pretty bad. It's like if you're going to bring him back right away, then don't even fire him. Which means you clearly just did it because you're supposed to.
Yeah. I do like Alex Cora. I don't think his situation was nearly as bad as the Houston Astros situation. But nonetheless, Boston liked him. They wanted to bring him back. They obviously thought that it wasn't that big of a deal with what he went through. So, might as well bring him back. I mean, he managed them to a World Series win. So, obviously, he's pretty,
honestly,
pretty well liked from.
I think that Boston team is probably the best team I've seen. Since I've followed baseball, it's probably the best team I've watched.
It was a very, very, very good team. And just to think they were one of the worst teams in baseball.
They go, literally, watch, they'll be like the best team in baseball next year. They go from best to worst to best to worst. It's unbelievable how they do it.
Yeah, it's typically how it works. Probably get some big free agent signings this offseason, and they'll be back right up there again.
Right.
But anyway.
Bauer.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe. But anyways, so that was Alex Cora. Robinson Cano suspended again. That's just coming out today for the entire 2021 season for getting caught with performance-enhancing drugs once again. This is now the second time in his career that he has been suspended. The first time was when he was on the Seattle Mariners. Was not the entire season. This time now, the second time it is the entire season. For me, this is something that is always just a head scratcher when people get caught for performance enhancing drugs this day and age. You have so many resources available to you as far as team physicians and doctors and stuff go, that if you are getting something or you're getting prescribed something that you don't know what it is, I don't understand how difficult it is to just go ask the team doctor or the physician, whatever it is, say, hey, can I use this, or am I going to get caught and suspended? So to me, that's always frustrating and confusing. This isn't like the 1980s where everyone was doing it and nobody really cared.
That's why I'd say at least 95% of the time they knew what they were taking.
Right.
It's just like, like you said, there's no way you're just going to be like, yeah, it's probably okay. Like, yeah. No,
if you don't know, go ask someone.
Exactly.
You're a professional athlete. You have so many resources that you can go to. I mean, it's bad. It's mind-boggling to me because I don't think it should be this difficult of a situation. But anyways, nonetheless, from that, I would think, maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree with me, this pretty much cancels all Robinson Cano Hall of Fame possibilities.
I mean, I think the first time already did. If Bonds and Clemens can't get in, then Robinson Cano wasn't getting in even with one bust, I don't think. Now, yeah, his chances are 0 now.
Yeah. I mean, it really is.
Which he probably would be a Hall of Famer had he not been caught at all.
I agree 100%. One of the sweetest swings that baseball has ever seen. It just made the game look effortless. A solid defender as well, too. That sucks a lot for the New York Mets, too, who are trying to upward into the right direction. And now you have your guy, Robinson Cano, gone for the whole year.
They don't get to pay him that money, though.
I suppose. Guess there's a positive to everything.
They can go get LeMahieu now.
Bring him. He's staying in New York, DJ. No, that is an interesting situation. Cano, I mean, frustrating situation. A guy that had so much potential and his future was looking incredibly bright, just throwing it all in the trash.
He'll probably retire pretty soon now.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I can't imagine he'd stay around for too much longer now.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, nonetheless, we'll move on from that because it's a frustrating situation. Into the Miami Marlins getting a new general manager, and Kim Ng is the one for Miami. Somebody that has always been in the baseball for a long time. She is the highest ranking female baseball executive, and she is the first woman to serve as a general manager of the team in the main of the big four for sports, so NHL, NBA, MLB, and NFL, and the first person of Asian descent to also serve as a general manager. But that is not the only reason why Miami did it, folks. She is a very, very decorated player here, person in baseball. She was an assistant director of baseball operations for the White Sox from 1990 to 96, an assistant general manager from the Yankees from 98 to 2001, and with the Dodgers from 2002 to 2011, getting 3 World Series titles in that frame, 98, 99, and 2000, with the New York Yankees. So she has a lot of experience there, too. Played college softball, worked her way up to the front office there. Really, really good situation as far as that goes. Like I said, been around for a super long time, and it is really cool to see that, she's breaking barriers as far as women getting that high-ranking position as far as that goes.
And racially.
And racially as well, too, absolutely. That is super cool to see that. So, obviously, Miami is looking in a good direction. They just made the playoffs this year. Their manager won Manager of the Year, and now they hired a GM who is more than qualified to be in that position. Can you see Miami? I mean, I don't know how much as far as Kim Ng has in the past as far as trades and stuff go. I'm sure she has a pretty big say in it. So I would assume that Miami, do you think they might be set up to make something happen here in the future?
I mean, I think they have a good future. I don't think they're going to be going out and like spending big time on any free agents this year, at least not this year. But I mean, in the near future, I think Miami could definitely be a team to look out for. Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like she's very qualified. So I'd say she's right for the job, and good for her.
Yeah, that is a pretty cool situation for her as well too. Derek Jeter obviously played for the Yankees for his entire career when Kim Ng was the assistant GM there. So that is pretty cool to see that he kind of got his person. So that is cool to see for that.
By the way, I just got breaking news on my phone. Danny Green just got traded again.
Yeah, I just saw that. We'll have to get to that. Yeah, we'll have to get to that once we get to the NBA here.
Miss a 3-point in the finals, and then you just traded again.
Mike Clevenger, good news and bad news for him. Signed a 2-year contract with the San Diego Padres. Bad news, well, he needs Tommy John season and is going to miss the entire 2021 year.
So it's pretty much a 1-year contract for the team.
So pretty much a 1-year contract. I don't know I didn't see if there's any player options or team options as far as that goes in there. We'll have to find out. But kind of sucks for the Padres, a team that had a lot of potential this year. They made it into the playoffs, obviously losing then to the LA Dodgers. Clevenger was looking to be an extremely solid piece of that rotation, maybe the number one potentially you could have seen. But how ginormous of a blow is this for the Padres?
I mean, for the most part, they did what they did last year without him because they got him late. So, I mean, they clearly don't need him to be successful. But if you want to get over the hump, he was going to be a large part of that.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. I mean, he's one of the better pitchers in the game. He's a very underrated pitcher. He's very good. And now without him for a whole year, that's definitely going to be a big loss, especially considering their starting pitching is not bad.
No.
But the offense is the staple of that team. Losing an offensive player wouldn't hurt as much, but losing one of your best starters, that's going to hurt. So yeah, it's definitely not. I mean, good news for them that they signed him to 2 years, but definitely bad news that he's got to take Tommy John. I wouldn't be. It seems like pitchers recover from Tommy John and come back just practically the same nowadays, which is good. But you're still missing him for this year, so I wouldn't necessarily be worried about what he's like afterwards. But you're not going to have him for this year, so that's big.
Do you think then, does this potentially open up a potential Trevor Bauer situation here in San Diego? I mean, and Clevenger are teammates, are good buds.
I think San Diego's good with spending money. So I think if Bauer wants to go there, it's a possibility. I think San Diego will try. I think they'll definitely try to get him.
I think they will too.
I mean, they probably would have tried to regardless. But now now they might even be pushing harder. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they decide to do there. Obviously, Clevenger and Bauer, teammates with the Cleveland Indians, pretty close friends too, as far as seeing on social media and stuff goes. So that could be a pretty solid fit for them. And as far as outspokenness goes, the San Diego Padres with the whole Fernando Tatis situation goes, I just think as far as how much Trevor Bauer is outspoken and really big on innovating the game and getting guys platforms and stuff to be themselves, San Diego may be a good place for him. We'll have to see how that goes. So moving on from Major League Baseball, moving into the NBA. Now we will get to the Danny Green trade shortly, but we have to get to the trade to get to that trade, or else it's not going to make any sense. So we'll start off first, though, with the Oklahoma City Thunder getting their new head coach after Billy Donovan left. and is going to be assistant Mark Dangenalt. I don't think I said the name right, but hopefully I did. I work with a lot of hockey names. That one was not the easiest one for sure. Um, so he has been promoted on the assistant staff there for Oklahoma City. Um, he has been there for 6 years as far as an assistant coach goes. So he has been in the system the whole time. 35 years old. It'll be interesting to see how they do this season. It's a team that has a lot of young players, young stars. And as far as him being there, being a younger guy as well too, maybe this is a bond and a relationship that this Oklahoma City team can try and build with for the upcoming years. So I don't know. Do you have any strong opinions about this?
I mean, honestly, most of the time in these situations, I don't know the guy well enough. Like, I don't know assistant coaches that well. But I think hiring, in team a lot of times can be beneficial, especially if you're ready to win now. Because they're probably, they know what they're working with better than a new guy, better than somebody from a brand new or a whole new team would know. But he's really young, so that's interesting. I mean, he's only 35 years old. There's going to be players older than him, so it should be interesting. I don't think that's an issue. It's just we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I am interested to see how that goes. Kind of. I do like the decision to stay in house. Obviously, with the younger team, bringing in somebody from the outside, it may be kind of difficult. So a guy that the younger players are already familiar with and familiar with his play style and what he does as far as coaching goes, that'll be huge for them. So I do like this hire for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Another trade went down. The Houston Rockets sending Robert Covington to the Portland Trail Blazers for Trevor Ariza, a 2020 first-round pick, and a 2021 protected first-round pick. So the Blazers are 16th pick in the NBA draft tonight. I don't think this is a really high-profile one here as far as it goes. For Portland, I do like it. They're getting Robert Covington. A guy that can make shots, plays pretty solid defense, and obviously Lillard and McCollum are the guys there in Portland. But as many role players and guys you can have on there to be successful, I think Covington fits that role perfectly.
Covington's been all over the place the last few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good trade because Covington's kind of the Blazers actually were pretty good defensively this year, but in recent years they've kind of struggled there. He's a shooter besides McCollum and Lillard, like you mentioned. Those two are two of the best in the game, but they didn't have a lot of shooting after that. So Covington should definitely help that. And I mean, sometimes when you trade all the time, it means it's bad things, but it also means, people want you. I mean, you could say people don't want you, but you can also say a lot of people want you. I think Covington's a very good player, so I think Portland definitely improved here. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Trevor Ariza also, can't forget about him. He's been around the league for a long time.
He's
been
also
on a lot of teams.
Well, and he's going back to one of his former teams now. So.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know if these will have significant implications as far as team goes, but and we'll get to the James Harden situation, but with so much uncertainty there to have a guy back in Houston, it'll be interesting to see what happens there as far as that goes. The Milwaukee Bucks getting Bogdan Bogdanovic from the Sacramento Kings in a sign and trade. So they will be sending Dante DiVincenzo, DJ Wilson, and Ersan Ilyasova to here. Bogdanovic, a solid player, a guy that can shoot the deep ball pretty consistently. Obviously, they did not bring Malcolm Brogdon back last time. So I do like this. I do like this for the Milwaukee Bucks team. It's a team that they don't have a whole lot of shooters as far as that goes. Bogdanovic is a really solid shooter. Chris Middleton obviously can shoot the deep ball pretty consistently. But as far as outside of him, there wasn't a whole lot of guys that could consistently make that shot. So it's nice to have another guy that can make the deep ball as well too. He averaged 14.5 points a game last year, did Bogdanovich, 3 assists and the steal. So I like this, and we'll get to the other Milwaukee Bucks trade shortly. But as far as this one goes, how do you like this?
At the end of the day, it's an improvement, and anytime you're improving a trade, I'd say it's a good trade. I don't think shooting was. It didn't seem like shooting was as big of a concern as people were acting like. But I didn't. I guess I didn't watch every Bucks game, so I wouldn't know. But nowadays, if you can add 3-point shooting, you do it, and they did it. So, yeah, I'd say it's definitely a good trade.
Yeah, so I do like that. We'll get into the other Milwaukee trade here.
Although DiVincenzo is a very solid player, and they're using him. He's very versatile.
Average 9 points a game.
Yeah, so it's not. They're not. I don't think it's like a totally obvious they won, but that Bogdanovich does look like he's got. I'd say Bogdanovich's ceiling's probably a little higher, or at least more likely that he'll get there. And he looks like he could be potentially really good. So
it'll be interesting to see what happens for the Bucks for that. The Bucks also busy making another trade, acquiring Drew Holiday from the Pelicans for Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, and 3 first-round picks, also pick swaps as well, too, as far as that goes. What I've been reading as far as, getting Drew Holiday, Milwaukee has had a solid offense, but it is an offense that has been extremely predictable as far as get Giannis the ball and get in the paint and see what happens. In getting Drew Holiday, one of the best defensive guards in the game, but also an incredibly solid playmaker. He averaged 19 points a game last season, 6.7 assists, and 4.8, almost 5 rebounds. So it sounded like Milwaukee was trying to get a guy that was more, I guess, could make plays, but was also a consistent shooter and played really solid defense as well, too. So what do you think about this trade?
I have mixed feelings. Holiday is an improvement. So I'd say it's not a bad trade. I don't think it's a great trade though. Like, picks don't mean much in the NBA unless you're a bad team. Like, if you're picked outside of the top 10, who the heck cares? And when I seen 2 of these picks are like 20, one's like 2024 and one's 2027. So when I seen that, I'm like, okay, that's pretty good trade. Those picks barely even matter anyways. But with that being said, it's still picks. And then, like, Drew Holiday's good. Trust me, I'm a Drew Holiday guy. I've always liked him. But, he's only an all-star one time. It's not like they just got Damian Lillard. And Eric Bledsoe and George Hill are both veterans, know how to play, and they're quality players. George Hill, I remember the Lakers and Bucks game last year where the Bucks won. If they didn't have George Hill, they might not have won. George Hill was scoring all the points at the beginning of the game. George Hill is good. George Hill is very, very solid player. Eric Bledsoe might not be able to shoot that well, but he can drive. He's a tremendous defender as well, and he can kind of do it all for you. So I just don't see why everybody thinks they got so much better from this. They got better, yeah, but I don't think it's that much. Holiday's an improvement, but they also lost 2-1, 2 guys for 1, so they might have to pick up somebody else for depth now. And Drew Holiday was there in New Orleans with Anthony Davis, and they barely even made the playoffs if they even did. So I don't see where people think Drew Holiday is all of a sudden going to elevate them to some unstoppable team. Is he going to make him better? Yes, but I don't get the hype around. Some of the hype around this. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to, as far as Bledsoe was a solid, like you mentioned, he could drive pretty well, and he was good at getting that. I think that's what a lot of Milwaukee's offense was. Obviously, we mentioned Giannis as far as what he can do for that. But a lot of their offense is kind of in the paint and guys that kind of work in that range. So to be able to, I think, to extend it out, so that their strength is in the paint, but we're not going to be so predictable in every single play. And, if Drew can shoot it deep, then great. But it'll be interesting to see what happens this season. And like you mentioned, I'm not worried at all about the draft picks at all, trading that.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, number one, Milwaukee is not a team that's consistently competing for the top 5 for lottery pick goes. So that doesn't matter. And, we've talked about this before, too, and I know you've mentioned it on here, is that unless you're picking in the top 5, draft picks don't really matter a whole lot. Now, yes, you're going to find your diamond in the rough later on every once in a while.
Top 10, probably. I mean, if you have a top 10 pick, it's pretty valuable. But honestly, a lot of players drafted after like 15 don't even do much anyways. So,
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. LA Lakers were busy. Starting off here, they acquired Dennis Schroeder from the Oklahoma City Thunder for Danny Green and the 28th overall pick in the 2020 draft tonight. I like this a lot for the LA Lakers. Obviously LeBron is the man. He's going to be the guy taking the ball up the court. But, and you say, okay, Rajon Rondo was that guy, when he wasn't on the court to be that ball handler. Well, besides this year, Rajon Rondo is not the most consistent shooter. And as far as that goes, Dennis Schroeder is a phenomenal playmaker, but he can also shoot the ball too. So he's not going to be a liability on that end. And I like that a lot for them.
Yeah, I think it's a tremendous trade. And I'm glad you mentioned Rondo because, and Rondo's still there, I think, and he's still very valuable, and I like Rondo. But, Rondo's not necessarily valuable if he's on the court with LeBron because, both of those guys, LeBron's got the ball in his hands. If Rondo's not actually controlling the game, he's not going to be nearly as valuable. Whereas Dennis Schroeder, I think, doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands. I think he's considered a point guard, but he's kind of a borderline shooting guard anyways. And I think the trade's a tremendous trade because the Lakers could definitely use some more shooting. They don't shoot a lot of threes because they're so dominant in the paint. But nowadays in the NBA, I know they just won a finals, but it's hard to win games in game in and game out without shooting a lot of threes nowadays and making them. And they can definitely improve there. Now, Danny Green is a decent shooter, or at least he was, and they're losing him. But Schroeder's, a lot better than Danny Green right now. Schroeder's a very solid player. And as I mentioned, he doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands. So they can use him with LeBron as pretty much a shooting guard, or they can use him as the backup point guard along with Rondo when LeBron's not on the court. So I think it's a very valuable trade, and I'm pretty sure Schroeder's a decent defender as well.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. And he's young. The Lakers are a fairly old team, so I think it's a great trade, and that the pick really doesn't matter. It's not a good pick anyways, and when you're a finals-winning team and a team that's going to be competing for finals, typically rookies. Typically you don't even have rookies like on your team, or at least not ones you play. So the pick's really a moot point for the Lakers that they got rid of.
Schroeder this last season in 65 games averaged 18.9 points, 4 assists, and 3.6 rebounds. He also shot 39% from deep as well, too.
Yeah.
So and he also was in consideration for sixth man of the year.
85% free throw shooter as well, and the Lakers don't shoot free throws very well.
Yep. So. I have been seeing some stuff, too, as far as Rondo goes, that the Lakers are anticipating that they might lose Rondo in free agency this year. And if that's the case, personally, I think that's a huge upgrade. Now, like I said, Rondo did play well this last season, but in years past.
I like Rondo, but yeah, Schroeder's definitely an upgrade.
Schroeder's definitely an upgrade, so that'll be
It's not to say they wouldn't. I definitely don't want them to lose Rondo.
Right.
But, yeah. I don't understand why the Thunder are doing this trade, though. They must just expect Schroeder won't re-sign with them, but, all you're getting is a pick and Danny Green anyways. I think you'd be better off just keeping him for this year. Unless they want the Lakers to pay some of his salary and say go out and get somebody, but they're not going to be going out and getting anybody. They just traded Paul, so I guess I don't really understand the move on their part, but whatever.
It is interesting to see what happens here as far as that goes. I also was reading an article, too, before we started, that apparently LeBron James has wanted to play with Dennis Schroeder for a while. So LeBron got his guy. So that's cool. That's cool to see. Didn't know that. Didn't know he was that high in Dennis Schroeder, but If LeBron likes you, then you're probably going to come play with him. It's typically how that works. But good for Schroeder. So now with that trade, we can go into the trade that has just happened about 20 minutes ago. The 76ers are trading Al Horford and a first round and a second round pick to the Thunder for Danny Green. So Danny Green was not an Oklahoma City Thunder for too long. He's now a 76er. So how do you like this as far as that goes?
The Sixers are trading the first and second round pick?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I guess I just glanced at that. I figured they were getting the picks for Horford. That doesn't make any sense. Why did you trade 2 picks and Al Horford for Danny Green?
I don't know. I guess they're also sending Terrence Ferguson to the Sixers with Danny Green as well too. So
it does not make any sense.
And the Sixers are also sending the rights to Serbian point guard Vasily Micic to the Thunder, who is one of Europeans' top point guards. So I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense. The Sixers I don't
maybe they have intel that we don't know.
Sixers, I think it's like the Thunder just asked for change for 100, and the Sixers gave them like 4 $50 bills.
Yeah,
I don't get it. It's a terrible trade for the Sixers. I don't understand. I'm at a loss for words on that trade. I have no idea.
Yeah, obviously there's not a whole lot to digest with this one because it just came out. So I'm sure more details will come as far as maybe why the teams did it. I don't know. Certainly does not make a whole lot of sense hearing it just now, but maybe the 76ers have an alternative reasoning of why they did it.
Clearly they're dumping money, but why? I don't know. They're not getting Harden. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Phoenix Suns looking like they want to start winning some ball games again, and they are acquiring Chris Paul. So they're getting Paul and forward Abdel Nader. The Thunder got Kelly Oubre Jr., Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Jalen Lecque, and a 2022 first-round pick for the Suns. I like this a lot as far as the Suns aspect goes, because now Devin Booker doesn't have to do it all. Now Ricky Rubio is a good playmaker; he can distribute the ball well, but he is not Chris Paul. Chris Paul is arguably one of, if not the best point guard of all time as far as like pure point guards go with distributing the ball. He's got an extremely high basketball IQ. So that is great for the Suns. Now with him and Booker and DeAndre Ayton, are the Suns a team that can legitimately push for the playoffs now?
Oh, definitely. I mean, they darn near made it with that 8-0 stint in the bubble without Paul. This is a great trade for them. Is it going to matter much in the long run? Probably not. Like, Paul's going to make that. I'm not the biggest Chris Paul fan, but he's good. Like, he goes somewhere and they win games. I mean, I didn't think the Thunder would be anywhere close to the playoffs, and they were a 5 seed. And it's because of Paul, So, yeah, they're going to win games now, and now Booker doesn't have to do it all on his own, plus that Aiden. The thing is it going to put him, like, jump him up in title contention? No. And Paul's to the age, like, if Paul were, like, 30, you'd be like, okay, well, might not be title contenders yet, but maybe in a year or two, and if they could get somebody else, then yeah. But, Paul's a little older, so is this really going to bring him to a championship anytime soon? Probably not. But it's at least going to, maybe give him an outside shot, and it's probably going to get him into the playoffs, and it's going to give some fans some excitement. And I don't think they really gave up all that much anyways, so I'd say it's a great trade for them. And should be interesting to see how Booker flourishes with Chris Paul.
Yeah, Chris Paul reuniting with head coach Monty Williams, who coached Chris Paul for one season in New Orleans when Chris Paul was there. They went 46-36 that season and lost in the first round of the playoffs. This is what Chris Paul said about Williams, and that he loves his basketball mind and that he used to get excited before games about the plays he was drawing up. So that's great when one of your star players already has familiarity with the head coach and likes the head coach. So I don't know. I don't know. I think the Suns will make the playoffs now. I don't think they'll make a huge playoff run because the West is absolutely loaded. But I do think they have a chance to get one of the lower level seeds, 7, 8, for the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. But I do like this a lot for Phoenix, and maybe can finally get Devin Booker into the playoffs and then show what he can do. So we'll have to see how that bowls for them. James Harden now. Interesting situation for Houston. About a week ago, everything seemed fine there, and now everybody wants to leave. So James Harden has pretty much made it vocal that he wants to be on the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Now, a report came out yesterday that said that James Harden reportedly turned down $50 million a year to go to the Brooklyn Nets. Now, before I get your take on this, was also watching The Herd yesterday with Colin Cowherd, and Chris Broussard comes on there. He's an NBA analyst. He's a really solid guy as far as that goes. He came out and said that he has been hearing things around the league that supposedly Kevin Durant really wants James Harden and Kyrie Irving does not. So, Nick, I know you're just the biggest Kyrie Irving fan that anyone will ever find on the face of the earth, the face of the flat earth, I should say. He's Kyrie Irving there. But first off, break it into two parts. Do you like Brooklyn wanting to try and get James Harden? And then secondly, about the Kyrie situation there.
I like the Nets, and I want them to be good, and I want Harden to succeed because I like Harden. I'm not a huge Durant and Kyrie fan. I'm just I don't know, the way they handle themselves. But, I'd like to see it happen. It would be exciting. It would be a team who hasn't really been good in a while, would have a lot of hype around them and, compete with the Heat and the Raptors and the Bucks there in the East. And, I don't think they're going to, I don't think if the Lakers don't repeat next year, which I want to happen, I don't think it's going to be because the Nets would beat them. But, who knows? But, I kind of want it to happen. But, Kyrie, if that's true and Kyrie doesn't want him there, it's because Kyrie's a selfish prick. Sorry, yeah. Kyrie, but
to put it nicely,
I'd call any team in the league right now and be like, yo, you got buttered popcorn in the locker room? Yes. Okay. Give me one of those. I'll give you Kyrie Irving. And if they say okay, I'd be like, all right, pleasure doing business with you. The guys, does LeBron win with the Cavs without him? No. Nowadays, there's not a guy he's about the last person I'd want on my team. He's just, no. I don't want Kyrie Irving anywhere near my franchise. Nowhere near it. The dude's just a cancer to his team. He just is, and he's never healthy. So, if this happens, which honestly I think there's a good chance it happens, there's going to be a lot of hype following it. If everything goes perfect with the skill of Kyrie and Durant and Harden, they'd be really good. But it's two very injury-prone players, Durant and Kyrie, 3 personalities they got to mix, 3 guys that need the ball, and plus Durant's the only one of those 3 who's really, Harden could just be a catch-and-shoot guy, but that ain't James Harden, Durant's really the only one of the 3 who's even got, experience with not needing the ball in his hand the whole possession to score, Kyrie's, I guess Kyrie has experience with that with LeBron, but, Kyrie's not the same player when he's not controlling it, with the ball, and neither is James Harden. So, I don't think it's going to go as well as people would think. But at the end of the day, you have 3 of the best, 3 of the top probably 20 players in basketball if this happens. So, yeah, there's a lot that can happen, and they could be really good. But I don't think I'd even predict them to make the finals if it did.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. James Harden and Kyrie Irving, 2 very ball dominant players. They both want the ball in their hands to try and make plays. For the team, and it'll be interesting to see how this works out. Somebody is gonna have to check the ego at the door and is gonna have to be like, if we want to win, either Kyrie, you could just take the ball up, or James Harden, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to have to do. If everything works out on paper how it should, minus the drama, then I think Brooklyn can be a very, very deadly team. But I had my doubts with that, and a lot of it is kind of surrounded around Kyrie Irving is really what it comes down to. Nobody is denying Kyrie Irving's talent. He is one of the best point guards in the game. No one's denying that. But do you want to? And for me, in sports, I've always been for, you know what? If a guy has some off the field issues, and he's talented, I don't care. That's fine. To a certain extent, though, and Kyrie Irving is where I would not. I would not want him.
Well, when you say off the field, like you're talking like this guy's had, some marijuana issues, some drinking issues, some domestic violence. It's like, I'm all for second chances, whatever.
Right.
But Kyrie's more so, it's off the court. It's not off the team.
Right.
It's that's different. It's locker room related. It's attitude related, and that's a lot different. Similar to Antonio Brown, kind of.
Nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Houston will definitely get a haul back, as they should.
I would say if it does happen, they'll probably get Karis LeVert, Dinwiddie, a bunch of guys, and then the Nets are really going to struggle with depth too. I mean, you need more than just. You need role players to win. I mean, they'll still have like DeAndre Jordan there probably, and some other guys, but they're going to need depth too. I mean, they got Joe Harris, but I mean, the Rockets are going to ask for a lot. Honestly, I don't know if the Rockets would even be okay with it, but I would, instead of offering Dinwiddie, LeVert, all them, I'd be like, we'll give you a bunch of picks and we'll give you Kyrie. Mm-hmm. What else do you want? I think that would be the better option for them. Yeah. But we'll see. I think there's a pretty good chance it happens, though. One way or another.
Well, we'll certainly, that'll be probably the headliner the next time that we do this podcast, is that trade there for sure. But anyways, move on from that and move on to the NBA draft, which is tonight. Again, Timberwolves number 1 overall pick. I'm reading an article on SA.com that says, as of Tuesday night, supposedly the Timberwolves were still calling other teams to try and trade the pick. So I don't know what they're going to do. Assuming they keep the number 1 overall pick, it's tough. It's tough to me because I think you can go a bunch of different routes. Personally, I think you go with Anthony Edwards from Georgia, and the reason I say that is with the whole Malik Beasley situation this offseason and how much uncertainty that he will even be with the Timberwolves anymore, to kind of have that guy to replace him. I like it as well too. But if the Timberwolves do move back in the draft, which they could do, depending on where they go, maybe, your boy Obi Toppin is there and Minnesota picks them, which I could certainly see too. But there's really not a consensus number 1 overall pick because Minnesota could go a number of directions.
I mean, if they can get a decent trade, I think it's definitely what they should do. As crazy as it sounds, the Wolves are, pretty much ready to win now, I mean, they need to win before Towns leaves, and you just got Russell. So, I mean, if you could add another piece with a draft pick, I'd say that would be the way to go. I mean, there was rumors about they could get Pascal Siakam. It would probably take a lot, but, I mean, I think it would totally be worth it. Do I think it'll happen? No. But if they could do something like that, yes, you totally jump on it. Especially considering, this might be the worst draft in NBA history. At least coming into it, it looks like one of the worst prospect pools they've ever had. I mean, obviously you can get a good player number 1 overall, though. But especially considering I think the best player available is LaMelo, and I do think that's who they should take if they keep the pick. But LaMelo is a point guard. You just got D'Angelo Russell, so that's probably even more reason to trade the pick, But just for the sake of if they do keep it, it sounds like, from what I read yesterday, that a lot of people think they're going to take Edwards. I think they're going to take Ball, just because, I mean, it's hard not to lean with the experts. I'm just totally guessing. They're probably not, but I think if they keep it, they'll go with Ball. And I think they should. Now, Karl-Anthony Towns plays center for the Wolves. That's not what Carl Towns not a center. He should play power forward. So that would give reason to draft Wiseman, who is obviously a center. I mean, he's 7'1". He's a legit center. He can play center, and then you could put Carl Towns to power forward, I think, where he belongs, and I think it would really work well. However, it's just like the way the NBA is, you don't win games with big men. You win games with small forwards and guards. You know, you don't, obviously, could use big men and they can lead you far. And I mean, they could potentially get you there. I mean, the Nuggets are really good with Jokic as their best player. But like Ayton, as good as he is, and I even said I'd probably take him number 1 overall, just because I think he is the best player in the draft. But he's not the most valuable. I mean, look at what Luka Doncic is doing. Yeah. And Ayton's really good, but did the Suns make the playoffs? No. So I think, although I think, I'm blanking on his name again. I just said his name, Wiseman. Yeah, I keep wanting to say Whiteside. It's not Whiteside. Wiseman is like an A+ fit for the Timberwolves. But even despite that, I think you go best player available, and I think that's going to be LaMelo, or I think he is the best player available. I think Obi Toppin has a great chance of being the best player in the draft. He's just built for the NBA. He was a very good college player. He's I think a year or two older than most of these guys, so advantage for the first year probably. And but I think it's just a little risky. Whereas Ball, I think Ball's a safe pick. I mean, the dude's a 6'7" point guard. I mean, I think he's going to be pretty good. So I think that's, if they keep the pick, I think that's who they'll take, and that is who I would take.
I don't know. I'm not the biggest LaMelo Ball fan. I think he could be good. To me, what worries me is now, obviously he didn't go to college. He played with a team in Australia, the Illawarra Hawks, whom he owns, which we just found that out a few days ago.
19-year-old.
But anyways, from what I've seen from him is that sometimes he can get a little carefree as far as the offense goes. He's a very wants the ball in his hands guy, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but you have a team like D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, who both should probably have the ball in their hands more than anyone else on the team. To add a third guy to there, it'll be interesting to see, and he's very inconsistent from three is what I've seen too. Now, like you mentioned, huge, 6'7", 6'8", 6'8". He's got phenomenal athletic ability, and if your last name is Ball, you're probably going to be a solid playmaker as well too. So we'll have to see where this goes. That's what I really do like about this trade, as far as anything can go, or this pick, anything can go. Warriors have the number 2 pick. Now,
I mean, who do you think is the best player available? And if you were the Timberwolves, who would you take number 1?
See, and it's hard because I don't think the Timberwolves necessarily have a glaring need in the point guard with LaMelo, center with James Wiseman, shooting guard with Edwards. Now, like I said, the only reason why
Edwards is a good fit for them as well. But...
Right, and the only reason why I'm saying they should go with Edwards is with so much uncertainty with Malik Beasley, with his off-the-court issues as far as legal issues go. If he may even be on the team, if Beasley, ends up the Timberwolves get rid of him, that's a big hole. And I know that's a lot to ask for a 19-year-old to come in to do it, but if he is going to the league, obviously he's got to be ready to some regard. So that is why I go with Anthony Edwards. I feel that would make the most sense.
I think that the 3 options at number 1 are Wiseman, Edwards, and Ball. Wiseman, I think, is like A+ fit.
Absolutely.
Edwards, I think, is like A+ fit. Ball's like a C or a D. Yet I still think I take him just because I think I'm of the mindset you just go best player available.
Sure.
But the other 2 are really good fits for him. So, I mean, I don't think they can necessarily go wrong with either. Like I said, I'd lean one of the guards just because that's the way the game is nowadays. The guards are the ones with the most impact. But honestly, any of those 3, I think, would be valuable for them. But like we said, and I don't think it's going to happen, but if you can find a trade partner with who's willing to give up a decent package, I would do that.
Warriors have the number 2 pick. There's also been talks that they may trade this pick too. If they don't, now this is all assuming they do not, they still keep the number 2 overall pick.
No,
I go with
them will
Wiseman
take
here.
Wiseman.
I go with
Now,
Wiseman.
like I said, that would be the one. That would be the one time I'd say you do take the big man because they don't necessarily need like. I mean, I sound like a broken record, but like I said, big men aren't really what get you championships anymore. Not nowadays, but they already have the guards to do so. So you don't need Edwards and Ball to come. If they drafted Edwards or Ball, like they'd probably barely even get the opportunity to really show what they're made of with Clay and Curry there. You draft Wiseman to be the true center that they've honestly never had during their title runs, besides maybe like Andrew Bogut for a little bit. I think it would be a very valuable pick for them. I think Wiseman would be. I don't know if I don't think they even should trade it. I think they should just draft. I mean, depending on what they could get, I guess. But I think they should just draft Wiseman.
And then that would leave potentially LaMelo Ball at 3rd with the Charlotte Hornets. Michael Jordan did put his stamp of approval on LaMelo Ball that if he's there, that he kind of wants him to take him. So I don't know how much I trust him. I mean,
I'm
Hornets
pretty sure
have not
those
been
three
good.
will be the top 3. I
Yeah.
could see Obi Toppin or maybe like that Halliburton sneak in there. There's
Mhm.
a really good guy from like Tel Aviv or something like that, or
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some foreigner that might go like top 5. Who knows? He might sneak in there. I think Porzingis was like 3rd overall. Luka was like 3rd overall. But I'd say most likely Edwards, LaMelo, and Wiseman are 1, 2, 3 in either order.
It'll be interesting to see here. I am really interested to see what happens as far as who goes number 1 overall, because there is no consensus number 1, or if they trade the pick is always exciting too. But nonetheless, that is the NBA talk that we had. Final thing we wanted to bring up: the Masters was just played. Dustin Johnson had a pretty decent performance, I'd say. Shot 20 under to win the Masters. An absolutely unbelievable performance from him. That is huge. I don't think a lot of people thought that. I mean, he's a very great golfer. Certainly does have the potential to win like he won, but I don't think a lot of people thought he was going to win with the numbers that he put up with 20 under.
Yeah.
Yeah, but huge for him.
But no means do I want to take away from anything. I think it must have been maybe a slightly easier course or playing conditions than normal because there was a lot of really good scores. But 20 under, and I think he won by like 5 strokes. So, I mean, that's he set the record for a Masters score under par, or for a major record, not only Masters major record. So, I mean, and he's been good all year. I mean, he shot like minus 30 at a tournament. So impressive. I don't know if he was the number 1 or not going into that, but he's got to be number 1 now, and he probably will be for a while the way he's golfing. So props to him. I mean, a guy who for years almost won every darn major, but always found a way to blow it and come up short. And now he's got 2 of them in the last, I think, like 2 years. So good for him. And I'd say overall it was a pretty good Masters it was a very much anticipated Masters, being that, it got delayed and they had to wait so long and people were Masters deprived. So it's good that they had a good one to watch.
Yeah, I am interested to see what happens here as far as this goes. But that was great for him, great for Dustin Johnson. Huge accomplishment for sure. Tiger Woods gets to put the green jacket on you. It's a pretty cool accomplishment, pretty good picture to put in the trophy room for years to come. But anyways, so that's the end of the show. Nick, anything you want to bring up? Any points or anything?
Kirk Cousins finally got that Monday night game.
1-9. 1-9. Good for him. But anyways,
Dolphins though.
Yes, sir.
Dolphins,
hey,
5 in a row.
We got the Broncos next week. Looking to make that 6 in a row.
Broncos and Jets and Bengals or something like that. Your next 3.
Something like that. It's looking good for us. Looking good. Fun time to be a Dolphins fan after a lot of years of it not being very fun. So it's good to see.
Dolphins are better than Lucas's fantasy team, just in case anybody was wondering.
Well, you put the curse on my fantasy team, folks. You listen to this. Next league, he is a commissioner in this league. I start off the season, 3-0, just wrecking people.
I think at the time you're like 4-1, 5-1.
Wrecking people, balling.
It
Then
is
he
clearly the
says,
best team in the league.
somebody needs to take out Dorton's team because it's too good. Folks, maybe an hour later, Dak Prescott, my starting quarterback, fractures his ankle, and since then I have been on a downward spiral of inconsistent play and barely being able to win.
And
I may not even make the playoffs.
Elliott's done nothing since Prescott got injured, so yeah.
Yep.
Tough.
Oh, there's collusion with Nick with the league, so that's cool.
Hands are clean.
Hands are clean. Okay, well, if you say so. But anyways, folks, thank you for listening. If you want to follow us on social media, on Twitter, at Lucas_Dorton, capital L and D. If you want to follow Nick on Twitter, at Doetkott, Doetkott, lowercase there for that. And if you want to follow our Twitter page, it is at DND_podcast, capital D is capital P for that. Certainly subscribe to us on YouTube. Share it with your friends, family. And if you want to be on an episode or you know anyone that does, talk some sports, certainly let either of us know. We love to get new faces on here. It's always a good time. So like I said, folks, thank you for listening to episode 39 of the Dorton and Doetkott Debate podcast. And until next time, we are out.